Oh, go. Hello, and welcome to episode 29 of Shared Discovery, the show and podcast dedicated to sharing the many exciting and enjoyable aspects of games and gaming. I'm your host, Victor. Today, I'm joined by returning host, Savannah.
Hello.
It's been a few episodes. How you been?
It's been a few. I've been doing really good. Been playing a lot of D&D, DMing, playing.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
What have you been playing lately? You skipped.
I'm sorry.
I have a thing.
I got ahead of it.
Playing a lot of D&D. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. DMing, playing, what are you doing?
Both.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes is the answer.
Yes, I have like 5 campaigns.
All right. They should remember that from last episode.
Maybe more.
What is your one of your most memorable moments from recent session?
Oh, dear.
Recent campaign.
Probably the one that I'm DMing that you're playing in. I know there's 2, but
Yes.
the one with Tamara. The whole issue with the guest that we had who betrayed the group.
Yeah,
that was very memorable.
Very memorable. We learned a lot. What's a good memorable?
Oh, yeah. You put me on the spot. How about you?
Me? I
think
really liked our last session. We hadn't played those characters in like 6 months or something crazy like that.
The other one that I DM.
And I'm playing a dwarf paladin, which I've never played a dwarf or a paladin before, so that was really it's really fun. And I'm playing them in a way that's a lot different. And this last session, all 3 of our characters had never touched snow before.
Oh, I've
never been to a snow biome. And that's where the session took us. We were all going kind of snow crazy.
Yeah, they got caught in a blizzard. You're welcome.
Got caught in a blizzard and kept rolling really bad.
Really bad.
On our perception checks, getting lost in a blizzard. So
good thing you found a cave.
Yeah, absolutely. So.
Alrighty.
Okay.
So we're talking about D&D.
We are talking about D&D, but you didn't give me a good. You didn't tell me something good that stands out to you from a recent session.
I mean, I think last session that you were just talking about was a lot of fun because I had nothing planned. Absolutely not. Because
giving away the DM secrets.
Yeah, the DM secrets is sometimes you don't play for 6 months and then you don't know what you're doing.
For real. I had to recalibrate my character for that one.
I just liked everything in the cave. I liked all the role playing. And you simping?
Yes, this character is definitely a simp because I don't play that way. So I'm like, let's do it on this. Let's do it on a character. Let's see how it goes. But why are we talking about D&D today?
Because we're learning and teaching how to create a character from scratch.
From scratch, yeah. And this is a continuation of episode 15. We started doing this at the end, the bottom of the hour, about 10 minutes. Ron and I said, let's come back to this.
Yeah.
Right? So
10 minutes is not enough time.
It's not enough time.
An hour might not be enough time.
Well, we're going to get
We're going to try.
We're done fluffing. We told our stories.
Yeah.
But the reason for this is we want to provide you the tips, tricks, secrets of beginning to end on how to make a character. This would be good for new players. And so if you're coming from that first episode, which we recommend, this will help you, and old players on how to teach new players to make characters. And so this also will be set up as a precursor to episode 30 through probably 33, because we're going to be playing for our first time on the show.
Yeah, I won't be there.
You won't be there.
I won't be there, but
you'll be some NPCs.
Maybe.
You'll make some guest appearances.
I might.
But it's going to be Ron. Ron's going to be our DM. If you remember, if you've seen the first episode, Ron's going to DM. It's going to be me, Xander, Anna. We're going to be the players in the game. It's super excited to start that.
It'd be cool to get Kaylee on too.
That'd be awesome.
But yeah.
Yes. So we're going to be doing that, and then the goal there is every 15 episodes continue that session.
Yeah, it's going to be D&D.
45, 60, 75, 90. Stop me.
We're gonna go.
We're gonna go.
Forever.
We're gonna try
for
to
as long
play
as we
that.
can.
So this is the time to plug here. Go to Instagram, subscribe to us there because we're posting funny videos, and we're gonna post as soon as you know that those videos are coming out. Those gameplay videos. That's just at Shared Discovery Show. You can find us at Shared Discovery on YouTube. We're working on migrating our videos to our own YouTube so we can start posting bonus gameplay.
Bonus content.
Yes, because we did a practice session, practice one shot that I DM'd with Xander and Anna. And so that we're going to put there. So check us out there. And if you have any questions or advice on how to make a character, email us at shareddiscoveryshow@gmail.com. Okay, plugging over. We got a show.
We're doing
We got to get into this. But we have like with every episode, we have some disclaimers.
Yes.
So I'll take this, right? And I think we already talked about this disclaimer. Just go back. We recommend go back and check out episode 15.
Just to get a general feel of like, what is the game of Dungeons and Dragons?
That's really what that episode's all about.
Yeah.
What is the game? What are these definitions, these acronyms? Like how to learn the rules, how to use these rule books. So we recommend that as a starting point. The next bullet point here, I think this is a good one for you to take as the DM.
Talk to your DM. So it's very important to talk to your dungeon master or DM throughout the process of making a character. Where do I look? Because you can create a character in a vacuum, but it's really important to know the setting and the story that your DM has planned so that it fits and you don't have to scrap a really good idea.
Yeah, it can be really frustrating. You made this character without consulting them. They say that doesn't work.
It's like, that doesn't really make sense.
That doesn't work at all. And
Yeah.
oh, man.
It's like,
But if you're working with them along the way, they might say, instead of scrapping, they may say,
let's
hey,
just tweak this.
yeah, change it just a little bit. So keep that in mind as we go through these 8 steps.
Yes.
This is probably step 0, I would say. Step 0, talk to your DM, and keep that in mind throughout all of the steps here.
We didn't do the intro question.
And now we're going to do the interest question. You had a question for me.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't do it because we switched them.
Yeah. What
You see the arrow on your page?
I do. That's why I'm reminding you. So, what character, show, or otherwise has inspired you to make a D&D character?
Yeah, a lot. First one that comes to mind is Dragon Ball. We were watching the original Dragon Ball with Kid Goku, watching
Goku's the
him
best.
grow up, and I used a lot of his personality and his creativity in fighting and his
His, silliness.
ideals
Yeah.
for protecting people and silliness, things like that. I used for one of my monks, right? So that's one of the first one that comes to mind. How about you?
I used just like the whole concept of Bloodborne, the game, to make like the spooky detective girl who is also in Magic the Gathering. There's like a commander card that is basically just her. She's a detective who investigates the supernatural.
So you got inspired by Bloodborne combined with magic, that art style.
Yes.
Another thing, immediately in the pre-show we talked about Castlevania.
Yeah.
Just so much of that we've
Has
been able to
inspired
draw
us.
off of. Like Alucard is a sword mage, which for those of you that don't know, someone who fights telekinetically by controlling swords. Using psychic powers. So that I've made a character directly like that because I've always liked that trope. But why are we talking about media and shows?
Because the first step into creating a character is to have an idea. So
Step 1.
Yes, step 1. Have an idea. So D&D is a fantasy role-playing game in which you have a unique character that you role-play throughout the course of a campaign. And what kind of character do you want to play is really where the jumping off point is.
Step 1, right? We're saying we watched this show, we liked that idea. That's what you need.
Yes.
Have an idea, and we're going to
That's the inspiration.
flesh it out on this character sheet. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to get an inspiration, we're going to flesh it out.
So what is your inspiration for today?
Oh, man. Some of the inspirations you had here. You had a swordsman, a powerful mage. We talked about like monks and personalities that we like.
Be a silly musician.
And I like what you said here in the notes. The only limit is your imagination.
Yes.
But sometimes
Whatever you could think.
we're not that creative, but other people are, so steal from them. For me, so this actually comes from last episode. The inspiration that I drew was from Lord of the Rings. We had been watching Lord of the Rings, and I really liked Gimli.
Yes.
So I said, okay, I'm going to make Gimli. So I have a start here. I got the name and obviously the race and the class figured out. Because it's like, Gimli's a dwarf.
He's a dwarf, and he's
a
a
mountain
fighter.
dwarf specifically, and he's a fighter. So today we're going to be fleshing out Rurik Bistra, and Rurik is going to be largely inspired by Gimli. And so this inspiration I took direct from a movie, but it can come from anywhere.
It can come from a TV show, a different board game, like a video game.
You talked about magic. You talked about Bloodborne. So video games, TV shows, favorite characters, friends.
Yeah, just your friends.
Life, family, whatever inspires you, you start there, right?
Like, I really like plants, so my favorite class is Druid, because I just want to be a nature person.
Yeah, and we talked about in the first episode how learning the rules and going through the rule book in the way that we recommend can also be a way to inspire you.
Yes.
Because you can learn things you didn't even know you could do with the game. So that is also a way to get inspired. But today we're going to be focusing on Gimli, and that's step one. We have our idea.
You have the inspiration. So now, step 2.
Step 2. So a little caveat here is
the disclaimer about these steps.
these steps are going to vary depending on who teaches you. This might even look a little bit different than what chapter 1 of the book guides you, how it guides you through. But we really liked this order. You specifically liked this order. So things might change depending on where your inspiration comes. These next steps might switch up a little bit. That's okay. This is just an order that we like and we recommend. So step 2, choose your class.
Yeah.
And choosing your class, it can come directly from your inspiration, or
The class itself could be your inspiration.
It could be your inspiration, or it fills the need of what you want to role play.
Yeah.
Right? So class, just to define it, broadly describes a character's vocation, what special talents they possess, and the tactics they are most likely to employ when adventuring.
Yeah. So, page 1.
Page 1, done. Chuck it.
I like checking it like that. So, I believe, I guess I could just say this. I think the class is arguably one of the most important things because it dictates how you're going to play the game. In social situations, in combat, all of the skills come from the class, and that's what you're going to use.
Yep, this is the mechanical core of the game, right? What can your character do that the abilities in the book say? So this is really important that
I'm just going to open up the book.
if you're going to be a fighter, right, if your character, your inspiration uses a sword and charges into combat, it's not going to make sense to be a wizard.
No.
Right. So this is why we're starting here. We think mechanics. This is a design concept called bottom up, where you start with mechanics and then you build into flavor.
Yeah.
Right. Or you could argue that we're starting with flavor and then building into mechanics
Top
off
down.
that, but they all wrap into each other, which is top down. So we got 12 classes that are in the player's handbook. These are the core classes. There are more that you can find online, but we're gonna focus on these 12 today. And these are split up into different classifications. So the first classification that I'll talk about are the martial classes. There are 4 of them, and they all focus on up close combat with a weapon, or utilizing a weapon to its fullest, because some of these will use a bow, not up close for that, but utilizing weapons to the fullest. And these
Physically attacking
someone. And then these are going to be your barbarians, your raging fighter, your raging warriors, and then your fighters, which are more tactical, more like soldiers who can use any weapon to their fullest. The monk, who meditate and punch really hard, kick and draw their chi to punch better. The rogue, who might use bows or daggers and be more stealthy and try to hit
all about backstabbing,
hitting you in specific points, right? And like you said, they're meant to be in the thick of the fight, but their abilities rarely impact social situations, right? There's some nuance to that, but we say rarely in comparison to the next types of classes.
Yeah, so the next category are the casters. So the casters use magical spells and abilities to either deal damage, take control of the battlefield, or manipulate social situations in their favor. And these include the bard, cleric, druid, sorcerer, warlock, and wizard. There's a lot of them because magic's cool.
Magic's cool. People like magic. We can't do that in real life. I can be a barbarian in real life.
Yeah, that's true. You rage often.
I can rage. I do.
So these classes rely on their spells in and out of combat.
That means they're going to have more tricky ways in social situations to charm people or influence them to do things.
Like, let's be friends, magic spell.
That maybe a barbarian wouldn't.
No.
Right? They're not going to have abilities that help friend or help them work with animals, things like that. Where barbarians are just going to yell at you and intimidate you
and probably just hit you.
Try to work, right? And then there is a last...
There's like a subcategory of both of them, which are called half-casters. And these are split from the first two, so they do both martial and and spellcasting, and they are the paladin and the ranger. So they're mostly physical attackers, but use magic to enhance their ability in some way.
Yeah, and it's with the casters, they all get their magic from different means.
Yes.
Right, so this can play into your inspiration. Does it make sense to be a warlock because you made a deal with some
other entity.
Well, that doesn't make sense. Okay, let me scrap the warlock. That doesn't make sense. Well, I get it more from nature. That's a druid, right? You're gonna lean into the druid. So again, reading through those classes, just the descriptions can help inspire you there. So we wanted to go through those, and obviously, step 2 for Gimli is a fighter. We already said that. So that's the fighter. You got us on the fighter page, right? And I wrote that down. We'll save that for later once we fill in the nitty gritty. But step 3 is choosing a background.
Where is this?
And again, like we said, sometimes your inspiration is a background. So a character's background is kind of like their backstory. In the player's handbook, there's several to choose from to help flesh out your character.
Shush.
Getting a little distracted here by...
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Hey,
so
please. Sorry, a little bit of distraction there from our set director singing. I'm glad that they like their Metallica, but a little distracting. Okay,
So,
back on track here. Choosing the
background.
background. This is to help you flesh out your character.
Yes.
There's a number of them in the player's handbook. You might be a soldier that has a knack for strategy and the environment, which today is going to be Gimli. So
That
I'm
is
going
our
to
focus.
go ahead and write that down
Yes.
right now. And
So
you might be a noble, you might be a criminal, an entertainer, a hermit. And what these backgrounds do are essentially to help with your role playing.
yeah, and help with your inspiration.
And-
Like they have this nice little summary here that tells you like what it's all about, and you know.
Yeah, exactly. And so a little nuance I want to make here is inspiration is a mechanic. It's a little point that
yeah.
the DM can give you if you're playing your character well. And when we say inspiration, we're more so referring to the idea, right? So if players you're getting confused about that, it's more so
This can give you an idea of how to build
So
your
we're using
character.
those words interchangeably.
Yeah.
But when you look at your background, whatever it may be, you're looking for these 4 different characteristics, which is on the front page of the character sheet, and it's going to be the personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. And you already turned to the soldier page here for me. Thank you. But so now we're going to think about and try to fill in these boxes with our idea, with Gimli,
Yes.
and in conjunction with this guy. And something you wanted to put here is that everything
on this page is optional.
it is optional. It's to help get you started.
Yeah, it's a jumping off point. So it has a little chart here that talks about like the different personality traits you can choose from, but you could also just put in your own thing that is not on this page.
Exactly. So I might be getting some from this page, but for me, I'm thinking about Gimli.
Yeah.
Okay, personality. What is Gimli's personality?
He's very loud.
Loud.
Would I say abrasive?
Kinda, yeah.
He knows what he wants.
Would that be an ideal?
Yeah, probably.
Loud, abrasive, brash.
There you go. I was stuck on that word.
Cool.
And then his ideals are like what he believes in, what he wants to do. And what he wants to do is good, and he wants to protect. He wants to
Protect.
help save the world.
Protect others. Save the world. Okay. Yeah, because that's the main story of Lord of the Rings. Like the world ending, and you said this in the pre-show. It's like he's the first one.
Yeah. Of his dwarves in the council of Elrond to stand up and say, "I'm going to go with you. I'm going to help do this."
And so, like, that is a strong commitment
He's so
to
confident.
good and helping and confidence.
Yeah, put that in personality.
Confidence is a personality trait. So his bonds. What are his bonds?
His bonds are they're like what keep you grounded. So it would be his family, his lineage, his people, his devotion to life itself, to protecting others.
Nice. Okay, and then some of his flaws. What do we think?
He's a little elf racist, at least in the beginning.
Yes.
He is extremely stubborn.
I think we could change that. Not change that, but also say that slow to trust.
Yes, absolutely.
And then
Just
stubborn,
laughing.
you said?
Yeah, there is a flaw on here that is perfect. I'd rather eat my armor than admit when I'm wrong.
That is so perfect. Stubborn. That describes him perfectly. Especially
He's a bit temperamental.
temperamental, yep. Okay.
And
All right.
competitive, I don't know if that's a flaw or just a personality trait.
And then up at the top of the page, there is the box that has class, level, background, player name, race, alignment, and experience points. So right now, while we're working on the background, I just wrote soldier up
Yes.
there.
Just to remind you. And like I said, these are optional. If you want to create your own kind of background for your backstory, work with your DM to, one, get you all of these kinds of abilities that the background will give you, and just work with your DM to make it fun, to make
And
it fit.
something, another tip is like, the sheet's a lot, and this book's a lot. So what I like to do is just put the page number.
Yeah.
So page 140, right? We can come back here. And what you'll see in all of these backgrounds is they'll have the skill proficiencies. And so right here it says athletics, intimidation.
Yes.
That means you're going to add your proficiency bonus when you roll for that skill. So when you have one of these,
So
you're
yeah,
gonna
just as a
go-
reminder, just you fill in the bubble on this sheet and then figure it out after we get the
Yes,
numbers.
so just to remind us when we get into the nitty gritty, I'm going to fill in this bubble next to athletics. Just darken that, so later I know, okay, that bubble's there.
I am proficient
I'm
in this.
proficient, I will add that bonus. And then intimidation. Which is kind of funny. Because watching the movie, I'm like, I don't think Gimli's that intimidating.
I mean, he tried.
But I could see him being intimidating
Absolutely.
on the battlefield. And then we have tool proficiencies, and that's going to actually be down in the bottom left-hand corner of the front page
This
of the
little
characters.
box.
There's a tiny little box here, and it's called Other Proficiencies and Languages. So what I'm going to do right now is it says one type of gaming set and vehicles. So I'll say chess set or something, just for now. And then vehicles. So that means when I am drawing a carriage,
Yeah, like a carriage and a cart.
I have experience with that. Okay.
You're better at using it than others.
And I think that's the background.
That's
what
pretty
we need
much
for
it,
now.
yep.
We have the page to remember if we need to come
You
back
also
here.
get starting equipment, but we're not going to go into that right now.
So yeah, and then the last thing on each, there's starting equipment, and sometimes it doesn't make sense with your background. So like there's an insignia of rank. That doesn't really make a lot of sense for Gimli.
Is like kind of, isn't he like a prince or something?
Something like-
He doesn't exactly have a rank. He's just a well-worn soldier.
But this kind of makes sense. A trophy taken from a fallen enemy. That could be a dagger, broken blade, something like
An ear.
that. A set of bone dice, a deck of cards. That makes sense for a soldier. There's a lot of downtime.
Yeah, a lot of
And then
downtime.
a
You're
pouch
trying
of
to play
10,
stuff.
10 gold, right?
See, that does actually matter for your starting equipment, knowing how much money you have to work with as you start playing the game.
And so this equipment you're going to fill in just to the right of that other proficiency box. There's an equipment box there, and I am sorry to Anna in the studio. We forgot to remind you to highlight these because we didn't realize it either. Okay, so what is the next thing here? If we don't like the background in the book,
I already sort of talked about
how
that.
do we get alternate?
Working with your DM. There are a bunch online that you can choose from. There's a bunch online. My favorite website to use is the D&D Wikidot because it just has everything that has been published. It has a lot of homebrew stuff, and you can homebrew your own things that make sense with your character and within the world. And like I said, just working with your DM to make it fit and still make it balanced. So because this is still a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your background isn't going to be, I'm the highest level wizard ever at level 1.
Exactly. And so while you were talking, I just wrote down the equipment. Took 20 seconds.
Yep.
Just as a reminder to save us time later. Okay. So.
Now, step 4.
Yep.
Choose your race/lineage. So we already know it's a dwarf, but the reason I have it being a /lineage is because it used to be called race, but the D&D races are more like species. So I think it is a little bit problematic to call them races, and it has been slowly moving into just it being called a lineage. So you have the dwarven lineage. You get these kinds of different traits and such.
Yes, and we will say, and I wanted to point this out, that this is actively changing.
Yes.
It's still called races in a lot of the books, but we're moving to lineage. And the reason for this, an example of this being problematic that I just got from the elf section is there are high elves that get +1 intelligence.
Yes.
Right, so every race will get some modifier to certain abilities. But then the drow or the dark elves get +1 charisma. So this implies that high elves are just inherently smarter.
Yeah, and that's just weird.
That can be very offensive. And
Also, just saying that elves are smarter than other races is you can
other
see why that's a
races,
problem.
The darker elves, they're
Yeah.
smarter than them. So that can be problematic. It is problematic, and they're changing this into lineage where instead of saying you get +1 intelligence, you get +1 to any stat that you choose.
It allows you to be a lot more flexible with
As
how you want to build
humans
it.
and humanoids are.
Yes.
They're very flexible. And I mean, look at humans. How different are
Yeah.
all humans
Like,
right, across this?
You're really strong. I am not.
Exactly. And so, wanted to bring that up here. That's not how a lot of the books are yet.
Yes.
But that is
Like the
something.
standard book still has the ability score increases.
So feel free to use those ability scores increases. We just wanted to start the conversation there.
Yes.
And so we're on the dwarf page, right? And we know Gimli is a mountain dwarf, specifically.
Yes, there it is.
And so when we go through the dwarfs, last time we were here, this is how I picked my name. This is their suggestions.
They have the, yeah.
And then if we move over and you look at the dwarf traits, there's the section in the book. It's going to tell you what stats increase, average age, their alignment, size, speed, and
any kind of like fancy features that they get, which you could write down here in the features and traits.
it is in the bottom right-hand corner of the first page of the
That's
character
right. This
sheet.
is a podcast sometimes.
Yes. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these just quickly and fill these in, right? And so my question to you is, so these are just dwarf traits.
Yes. You add these in addition to your subrace.
Oh, okay. So since I'm a dwarf, I get +2 to Constitution.
Yep.
And then since I'm a mountain dwarf, I also get +2 to Strength.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Subraces are cool.
That's very cool.
Sub-lineage, I don't know, whatever.
And so now, like we could look up Gimli's age. I don't actually know.
I don't know either. He's like probably like 300 something.
So I'm just gonna put that at the top in the. Oh, it's actually on the second sheet of
Yes.
the player. I keep trying to say player handbook, but the character sheet at the very top of the second sheet. There's a place to write your character's name again, and then there's a box to the right that has age, height, weight, eyes, skin, hair. So the physical description. So it looks like I already wrote that he is 112 years old.
Did you look that up?
No.
Okay.
I just like, that seems good. Pretty well experienced dwarf. And then 4'6", 155 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's his age. Alignment. We'll get into the nuances of
Talk about
alignment,
alignment
but he's generally a lawful
He's
good
good,
character. Maybe chaotic good.
We'll
He's
see.
good. He's good. I'm gonna
He's
write
just
a good character.
Neutral good? Nah, he's pretty
And
lawful.
then size, we already did that. I filled that in. And then speed. This is really important because this is mechanically for when
Yes.
combat happens. So speed here says 25. So there is the box right below the race where you fill in your race and alignment. Just below that in the middle of the sheet, there's a box that says speed. So I'm going to write that 25. And that means briefly that I can move 5 squares in combat.
Move the 20.
Move the piece. Yep. And
The standard movement speed for most humanoids is 30, but since dwarves and gnomes and halflings are smaller, their little legs can't go as fast, so they're like 25.
Then we have dark vision, which I already wrote. And then I wrote the page as a reminder, so we
Yes.
can keep moving. Then I have dwarven resilience, which
says you have advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have resistance against poison damage.
so I will say.
It's like they're made out of rocks or something.
So for me, just real quickly, I'm just going to write resistance to poison, right?
Yes.
That's not exactly what it is, but it gives me a reminder. So when poison happens, how did
You can
that
remember,
work?
look at your page, go back to the book.
And so then dwarf combat training, you have proficiency with the battle axe, hand axe, light hammer, and warhammer. Meaning, if I use these to attack, I will add my proficiency bonus to it when I try to hit something. So I'm going to put those in the other proficiency / languages box down in the left-hand corner.
These proficiencies are also good if you're in a different class, like a caster who doesn't have proficiencies to these kind of martial weapons. If you're a dwarf, now you do.
And then what do I get for being a mountain dwarf?
You get the ability score increased to your strength.
Okay, I'm going to note that. I'm just going to put that +2 there as a
And
reminder.
you have dwarven armor training, which means you have proficiency in light and medium armor.
Okay.
In addition to being a fighter, which you have proficiency in all kinds of armor. But like I said, it's just in case you're not a fighter, or your class you're a wizard who has no proficiencies in armor. Now you do.
Okay, so that's what the lineage gave
Yes.
us, right? So now, it's time for some numbers, I think.
Now it's time for the numbers.
Ability
Ability
scores,
scores.
step 5. So, ability scores determine just about everything about what we do. And so I'll say here, steps 5 and 6 are probably going to be some of the most important
Yes.
steps. Going to take up a bit of time,
Yep.
but these ability scores are on the left-hand side of the first page of the player sheet. There are 6 boxes pertaining to the 6 different abilities, and abilities, the way that I think of them is the game tried to mechanically represent everything we do in real life.
Actual attributes.
So just to list them off, and we'll go through each of them. There are 3 physical stats, which are strength, dexterity, and constitution.
And then the 3 mental, which is intelligence, wisdom, and charisma.
We need strength to lift things. We need dexterity to be balanced. We need constitution to not get sick. We need intelligence to read, and wisdom to
Be aware of your
aware of
surroundings.
our surroundings, and charisma to talk to people. So this is their best attempt to represent the things we do in everyday life,
Yes.
right? And each of these stats can range from the average stat for average person is 10, and so anything that will give you 0 modifier, and then stats will go up. The highest a player can have is 20, and the modifiers will increase as those numbers go up.
Yes.
There's a chart that we talked about in the beginning of the book in the last episode. It's on page 13 of the player's handbook, and if they go below that, you'll get some negative modifiers, meaning it's more
you're
difficult.
not that great at
Not that great at that. But these are used for everything.
Literally everything.
They
Just like a
are used for
D20.
ability checks, skill checks, saving throws, armor, initiative, attack bonus, right? And just a little bit of everything. Okay, so let me go through the physical ones,
Yes.
and you'll go through the mental ones. So we have strength. You put here, pretty obvious, but it's your natural athleticism and your bodily power. It measures how strong your character is, how hard they hit with weapons, how much they can lift, and then you said the more jacked your character is,
Did
the
I say
higher
that?
the
That's
number.
funny.
Yeah, I like that. Then we have
How
dexterity,
beefy are you?
physical agility, reflexes, balance, poise. It's used to determine how stealthy you are, how well you're able to dodge, which is why this modifier is applied to your armor class, right? And we'll get there. And then how quick you are in combat. It's the initiative,
Yes.
right? That is applied to initiative, which is the order people on combat unfolds. So if you're more dexterous, you often go
Go quicker.
in combat. And then you have constitution. This is your health, stamina, and vital force. The higher the score, the more health you will have. So meaning it's good for every single
Yes.
character. And since it's a game, this is your hit points. And if you fall to 0, knocks you out. Okay. And then when you roll for your hit points, you'll add this directly to get this modifier directly, or penalty. You can actually get low health if you have lower constitution.
Try not to do that.
So what are
Just a
the mental?
The mental scores are intelligence, which is your mental acuity, your information recall, and your analytical skills. So it's like you said, the standard is 10, and if you go below that, it doesn't mean you're not intelligent.
Yeah.
It just means it's harder for you to recall things. You might not be that great at researching, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I really wanted to linger here a little bit.
Yes, the little
because
caveat.
humans have tried relentlessly to have a single number quantify your intelligence, and that's not how it works.
No,
And
it's like the IQ thing.
The IQ is very offensive, and people are way more complex than that.
Yes.
So I want to point out here that if your character's stat falls below 10, that's okay. That doesn't mean they lack the ability for creativity or
Or understanding.
intelligent feats or understanding, general understanding. It doesn't mean they're just dumb, right? Like
It's harder
and
for
I
them
use that word
to
not
learn.
to be offensive, but I use that because that's how a lot of people think about it. It's like, no, we want to remove that from the discussion. It's just they might be more difficult for them, and they might shine in other ways. They will shine in
They
other
absolutely
ways.
will.
Like one of my characters has 6 intelligence. He doesn't always understand.
But he has,
the
like,
big
max
words,
wisdom.
but he's really wise. He's really aware of his surroundings. He can sense how people are feeling. He has high charisma, and so he shines as a leader because of that. And he has smart people with him.
Yes.
Right? So I wanted to touch on that there.
And next, like we just talked about, is wisdom, which is your awareness, intuition, and insight. A person could be very book smart, but not wise about the world. So that's high wisdom, low intelligence. Or wait, no, for reverse. Anyway, so wisdom is all about your instincts, like your willpower, and just being aware of your surroundings. So these two kind of get fuddled in intelligence and wisdom because people aren't sure how to role play them differently. Like if you have high intelligence but low wisdom, how do you do that? And it's just like you're very book smart, but you might not be super aware of your surroundings. And the reverse, high wisdom,
In a
low
way that
intelligence.
it's been explained to me is you might not
Yes.
understand what to do with all that information. You might not know how to use it. And an example that I really liked is the tomato example. And there's one for each stat, right?
Yeah.
Strength, you can chuck it fast.
No, you can
Dex-
squish it.
You can squish it, you can chuck it as far as, and dexterity you can dodge. Constitution, you can eat rotten ones and not be affected. But intelligence is more so, you know what that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is you know not to put tomatoes in a fruit salad.
Yes.
Right, so you know that distinction, and then to finish the analogy, charisma means you can sell that
You're
tomato
gonna sell
to anyone.
tomato.
All right,
So back to charisma.
take us away.
It's used in most social settings. It's your confidence, your eloquence, your leadership. It's used for persuading people, for deceiving people, for intimidating people, and performing.
Yeah,
It's what bards use, and a lot of socialites, they use it to get what they want and what they need. So having low charisma just means you're not that great at talking to people. You might be kind of awkward. And then having high charisma means you're really popular.
yeah. And it's
Usually.
you're good at negotiating is something,
Yes.
or like Gimli might be lower on the charisma side because he's so brash.
He's so brash. He's very confident, but that can only
And
get you so far.
he can just be rude, and he can just blurt out what's on his mind,
Yep.
and that can be a representation of low charisma. But how do we determine these scores?
There are some fun ways to determine ability scores. There are 3 in the book, and there is the standard array of numbers that they give you, which is 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8. And you plug those 6 numbers into these different scores, however you feel best represents your character. And then the other 2.
Oh, we're done with another sheet.
Oh, we are. There we go.
Nice.
I was like, that's not where it is. There is the point buy system, which each number from 8 to 15 has a cost, and you get 27 points you use to buy them, which is still on page 13. And you do that, and then you still take those numbers and plug them in. But my favorite method is rolling dice.
And this is the one that I did on the last episode.
I wanted to
This
get
is
some
where
dice.
you roll 4 d6s, so 4 6-sided dice, and then you choose the highest 3, add them together, and then you do that 6 times, and that will be your 6 numbers. So my 6 numbers, as a reminder, were 10, 9, 15, 15, 14, 10. So kind of average.
Pretty average, but
nothing crazy.
but two that are really good.
But since there's some higher numbers, I can think about, okay, what does my class need? What would Gimli be good at?
And your lineage gives you ability score increases so that you can add those to the numbers and decide what's more important.
Absolutely.
And what can be increased.
Okay. So we're going to do that. Let's fill in this character sheet.
Step 6, using the numbers.
Using the numbers,
Fun
filling
stuff.
in the character sheet. Let's do it. And I like what you put here. D&D is basically just fun with sparkly number rocks.
Sparkly math rocks.
You have hundreds of
I have so many.
So many. I've definitely contributed.
I love dice.
Okay, so what is the primary abilities? What are these?
Let me go back to the thing. So the primary abilities are stated on page 45 for each class. So the primary abilities for a fighter is strength or dexterity. It's just what you want to focus on. So for a Gimli fighter, he's focusing on strength.
Okay, so that means... And
you want a high number.
with your primary stat, you essentially want that to be your highest or up there, right? Or second highest, because that's where you're going to be using to do what your class is good at. So for me, I'm going to take 15, put that into strength, but I have a +2 from being a dwarf, so that will make it a 17. Okay.
So yes, on each class has a quick build option, which tells you what to make your highest. It says first make strength or dexterity the highest, depending on what you want to focus on. Next, it should be constitution.
Okay, so I should
or intelligence.
So I should put my 15 in constitution. That makes sense.
Yes.
Gimli can't keep fighting all day.
It's gonna be.
And he gets more kills than Legolas. So I'm going to go ahead and put that other 15 there, which will also become a 17 because
being a dwarf,
right?
You're hardy. You're sturdy.
Okay, so I
take the
got rid
hits.
of those 15s. So now let's think about these other stats here. I think I'm going to go ahead and put the 14 in wisdom.
I think he is very wise. He's lived a long time. Yep. He's seen a lot.
And just the idea of like,
he's very aware.
Here's my axe. I'm going to help these hobbits because we need to save the world.
Yes.
Like there was no doubt in his mind that this is what needed to be done and that he could trust.
He insight checked Frodo and was like, I believe in that.
I got you. So now I have 2 10s. And a 9. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put that 9 in charisma.
Absolutely, yes. I was about to say that.
And then I'll put the 10s here, and we have our stats. So what we need to do now is
put in the modifiers.
So if you're looking at the boxes, some people will do this differently. There's the big box and a small circle. Some people will put the stat in the small circle and then the modifier in the big one. Some people will flip it. I like to put the stat in the big box and then the modifier in that small one.
Yes. So we go back to page 13 and it tells you the ability score modifiers for each number. So for 17, you get a +3.
So anything that uses strength.
You get +3 to the roll that you make with the d20.
Awesome.
Dexterity. So 10, it is +0. You get no modifiers.
All right.
So same thing with your intelligence.
Sure. And so...
And then constitution is also a +3.
Another +3. What about 14 for my wisdom?
14 is +2. 14 and 15. So these go by 2s. So I'm not going to go through all that.
And then charisma.
Charisma. So 9. Now you start getting in the negatives.
So this is my penalty.
8 and 9 get a -1.
I could see Gimli getting
Absolutely.
-1 in the charisma, right? And so now we have our stats. This is what's going to determine everything else and start filling these boxes.
Yes.
And so
if we go back to the fighter class, something we forgot to put in, going back to the thing is putting in the saving throw proficiencies.
Well, that's because we're not to the saving throws yet.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking about when we were on the class.
We're going order.
Okay. Well, I mean, whatever.
That's true. Let's do it right now.
Anyway.
Let's talk about saving throws, right?
Yes.
So a saving throw is a special kind of check that one makes when a spell or ability calls for it. It's basically to save from. So like someone shoots a fireball at you, you make a dexterity saving throw to see if you can
jump out of the way and take less damage.
And so you said here that the fighter, and this will be in every class section, it'll tell you what saving throws you have, and that means you're proficient in them.
So you add your proficiency bonus and such. So the saving throws for fighter are strength and constitution,
So I'm going to fill in
which is
strength
good because they're your highest.
Constitution. Awesome. And that's really good.
And you
makes
typically
sense because those are my highest stats.
yeah, you typically don't get more than 2 proficiencies in saving throws. It's very rare.
Mm-hmm. And so that's it. Like you said, you only have those 2 saving throws, but we keep talking about this proficiency thing.
Yes.
I think it's really important that we rewind a little, touch on this proficiency, because we've been saying it how many times in this episode?
Yeah, a lot.
So let's get to that. What is the proficiency?
So it's something that you're proficient in. It's something that you're good at, something that you are trained in. So on page 15, it goes through the character advancement and explains, somewhere on here, explains the proficiency bonus and how it increases as you level up. So level 1, your proficiency bonus is +2.
Okay.
So that means anything that you are proficient in, when you roll to use a check, a skill, ability thing, you're adding the +2.
Okay, so if I roll this, my D20,
Yes.
when they told me to make a roll, I roll it and make a strength check. Okay, so I'm proficient in it. So I get 12?
No, you would add your strength
Plus 3
modifier and proficiency bonus.
So that would be
becomes a
+5?
Yep.
Holy cow, I'm strong.
Uh-huh.
This is awesome. Okay.
So just put a
So I'm
+2
going to
there.
put a +2. And this is the small box just to the right of the strength box. That's
Just above
proficiency.
saving throws.
Just above saving throws. That's +2. And I think with that, we're ready to start filling.
You're ready to fill in all
We're
the other
starting
numbers.
to fill things in. Okay, so let's go to the top down. So inspiration. This is something that your DM will give you if you're playing well.
Yes, if you're role-playing.
If you're role-playing well.
Yeah.
Or they think you are doing what makes sense for your character.
Yes.
And if you get inspiration, you're allowed to make yourself better at something one time by giving yourself advantage, which means you roll 2 d20, you take the higher result. So that is not something we do. That's something that you, as the DM, would give
Yes,
us.
but that's not something we put on the page. We don't care about it right now.
We don't care about it. Proficiency. We already did that.
through that.
So now we're going to the saving throw boxes. I already filled in the 2 bubbles, the ones I'm proficient in, and now I'm going to go top down. So the strength one you already
You
said,
add in your modifier
which is +3.
and the proficiency bonus.
Okay,
plus
so
2.
that's
So you get a +5
+5.
for strength saving throws.
Dexterity, I am not proficient in, and I have 0, so
So
I'm just
it's
at a
0.
0. Constitution,
Same thing with the strength.
so +5. Intelligence is a 0. Wisdom, I'm not proficient, but I do have +2 in, so that's a +2.
In the charisma,
minus
-1.
1. And so whenever you see that stat, strength, dex, constitute, intelligence, wisdom, look for the modifier to the left of these in these stats to add that. So now let's get to the skills. There are 18 of these skills that rely on these ability scores.
We do the same thing that we did with the saving throws, what you're proficient in. We'll go back to fighter because you have more skills. So each class will give you a number of skills to choose from to be proficient in.
Oh, yeah, so you get to choose 2. I get to choose 2.
From Yeah.
And from my background, I was already proficient in athletics and intimidation. So this says I can choose 2 from acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, history, insight, intimidation, perception, and survival. Can already cross out athletics.
Yep, since
Can
you already
cross
have
out
those.
intimidation. So what makes sense for Gimli?
Survival, I would say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna fill that bubble in.
And probably history, if I'm being honest, because
History?
he knows a lot.
He does.
He's
He's
he's lived around for a
he's
while.
a very lived dwarf. So I fill in those bubbles. I have those proficiencies. Now we can go down the skill block and start filling these numbers in. And so what you'll see,
Next to the abilities, skills on the sheet, they'll have the ability score that coincides with it.
yeah, just in parentheses they'll have the acronym. So acrobatics says parentheses dex. That means I'm going to add my dex modifier, which is 0. And I'll go down the line on each of these. So animal handling, wisdom, so that's +2. Arcana, intellect, that's 0. Athletics, strength, and proficient, so that's +5. That's awesome. Deception, charisma, -1. I'm not good at lying.
Nah, and Gimli don't lie unless
History.
he's boasting about not being drunk.
History is 0, but I'm proficient at
So
it
you
because
get the
I've lived
+2.
a long life, so I get +2. Insight is wisdom, so +2. Intimidation, proficient, but I have a penalty, so
it would just be a
+2
plus
-1, so I have +1, which is hilarious. And you're gonna go through these just like this for every character that you make.
Yes.
Investigation is intellect, so 0. Medicine is wisdom, +2. Nature, intellect, So that's 0. Perception is wisdom +2. Performance minus 1. I can perform, but you might not like it.
It might not be easy.
Persuasion.
So let's just try.
Yeah, -1. Religion. Intellect at 0. Sleight of hand. Not good at that. Stealth, I'm not very stealthy. Survival, I have the proficiency and +2, so that's +4. So now these are filled in. So whenever your DM says,
make a perception check.
one of these 18 checks, you will roll the d20, look for your perception, and then add that modifier.
Add whatever the number says.
Okay. And now, below that box, there is a box called passive wisdom.
Yes.
Perception.
Passive wisdom and passive perception. It means, like, how aware are you from just wandering, not making active perceptions, not actively looking around?
Yeah.
That is 10 plus whatever your perception modifier is, so your wisdom modifier. So it is a +2.
So I have 12. Okay.
And if you were proficient in perception, you would add your
I would
proficiency
add
bonus
that
to
too.
the passive as
Okay,
well.
that's good. That's really good to know. So these stats, that was a lot.
Yep.
But these stats are used everything.
They're going to dictate
How
everything
many
you do.
how many rolls do you think a DM makes the players make in a session? Yeah,
Anywhere from like 5 to 20.
so many. And yeah, okay. So we talked about proficiency, talked about saving throws, and our primary abilities, which we know is strength because I'm a fighter, or dex, but I chose strength.
Another thing about proficiency that you get with fighter, so armor proficiency, all armor and shields.
Okay. Write that
Weapons,
down.
simple weapons and martial weapons, which are all of them.
Okay.
Tools, none, and then
Sure.
yes. And as a dwarf, you get languages,
Oh yeah.
which they were covered up. Oh, you actually get tool proficiencies. One set of
That was covered up. I put the sticky note in the
how
wrong
could
place.
you?
That's okay.
Oh wow, there's even more things.
Stone cunning.
Whenever you make an intelligence history check related to the origin of stonework, you are considered proficient in history.
That's awesome.
So you were
Okay.
already proficient. Anyway.
Very cool.
And then you get languages, which you're proficient in. You write Common and Dwarvish.
Okay, I'll fill
those are
this in. And we're at the bottom of the hour, so I
We
think,
need to hurry up.
yeah. So we'll go
One
through.
more thing on proficiencies
Yep.
is the weapon proficiencies you add to the attack bonus.
Okay, so there's this attack thing right in the middle of the front page. There's attacks and spells. And so you're going to have the name, which I'm going to say is a battle axe.
No, the Great Axe.
The great axe, okay.
Big.
Great axe. I'll fill that in. Then the attack bonus is going to be strength plus proficiency, so +5. So that means when I make an attack, I use +5 to see if I hit.
And then when you roll damage, it's 1d12, and then you add
Okay.
your strength modifier.
And
So-
then, so I'll write that in the damage type.
Roll
1d12
1d12, 3 plus 5.
plus,
3 plus
plus
3.
3.
My bad.
And then you can write the damage type because it'll say on this chart
Yes.
on page
Slashing.
149, slashing. Cool. Okay.
All right.
Now, what is this armor class I'm looking at?
So, as a fighter, you get, from your starting equipment, what armor do you get? You get chainmail or leather armor, but Gimli's wearing chainmail,
Yeah, he's wearing chainmail.
which means your armor class is 16.
Yes, back to this equipment page. This will be really helpful for these
145
pages.
to 149.
Yes. And so what does that say?
So chainmail is your armor class is 16. You need to have a strength of at least 13 to
I
wear
got that.
it, and you have disadvantage on stealth.
Okay. So,
So you would put 16 here.
and because I don't have any dexterity.
And also, the chainmail just doesn't
Okay.
add dexterity
So
modifiers.
16, that means anytime someone tries to hit me.
They have to roll a 16 or
Yeah,
greater.
okay. And then what is the initiative?
Initiative is your dexterity bonus, so you have 0.
All right.
So whatever you roll for initiative, that's what it is.
Okay.
Did I roll? Okay, that was a 3. I thought it was a 20.
Current hit points. This is
Oh,
also
boy.
from the fighters section.
Yes.
This, and remember, you're going to be referring to the book a lot. You're going to be going around. So what you might have seen for our viewers is we have sticky notes on the pages that we're
Yes.
going to be used. I have on the dwarf page, the fighter page, and the equipment. The 3 pages we're going to be bouncing around. Oh,
Yes. And soldier and such.
Yeah, and the background. So those are the 4 pages we're going to be bouncing around between.
So to determine hit points, you have hit dice, which for fighter is 1d10 per level. So it's just 1d10, which you write right under or right above.
Yeah, so
the
there's
attacks.
a box right in the middle of the page that has current hit points, temporary hit points, then hit dice. So hit dice, I have 1
d10.
D10, so I'll write that there.
And then hit points at first level is 10 plus your constitution modifier.
So my maximum hit points is 13. My current points is 13 because we haven't fought yet.
Yes. And then whenever you level up, you either take the standard, which is the 6, or you can roll a d10 and then add your constitution modifier to that and add that total to your starting health to increase your health as you level up because you're getting stronger.
Okay, so seems like we got a lot filled in.
Oh.
Got a few minutes, but let's touch on the class things. We
Yes.
won't go into details, but in the features and traits box on the bottom right-hand corner of the sheet, this is where you're going to write little reminders of what your class can do. So for example, a fighter has a fighting style. So
for Gimli, that is great weapon fighting. The other options are archery, defense, dueling, protection, and 2-weapon fighting. But Gimli mostly uses his big great axe, at least in the movie.
Yep, and then as you level up, you get new features, and I like to write little reminders or blurbs so I don't always have to go to the book, but if you're like, I don't remember exactly how that was worded, don't feel bad going back to the book, and that's why I write the page number, so page 72. And then, okay, so I think this is a usable character.
The only thing left to add is the equipment you get from your class.
Oh, perfect.
So we already did the chainmail.
Chainmail.
You get a martial weapon, which we have already chosen
already
for
chose
the
our
great
great
axe.
axe.
And then you get 2 hand axes.
2 hand axes.
You also get options in here, so you can either
And
be a
again,
ranger.
I will go to the equipment page to fill in the hand axes stats.
And then you can either do a Dungeoneer's pack or Explorer's pack. And for Gimli, he's a Dungeoneer.
Yeah.
Which is on page 151.
Okay, so that's filled in, and that's step 6, using the numbers. We said step 5 and step 6 are going to take the most time, and it sure did. So,
all right, we're going to have to
Step
speed through step 7, which is understanding your character. So you have all these numbers, you have all these little blurbs, you have the bookmarks. Just go through and read. Just read and try to understand.
yeah, read. Sure.
Yeah.
That's so fun. Take time to absorb this. Once it's all filled in, yes, that's good. That's and fine and dandy. But take time so you know what your character is good at. What are your stats? Like, what am I going to be better at on average?
Yeah, you have
What
these
are my personality
reminders.
traits? So you are in the session. You're not having to go back to the paper constantly because that can take you out of the role play. That can take you out of the game. So get familiar with these things.
Yeah.
Try
The
to
more familiar you are with your own character will just help so much for your DM, so they don't have to keep track of that for you.
and it'll help you have more fun if like, wait,
You can get invested.
I have this spell for this perfect thing. This is awesome. Okay, cool. Or like we've had examples where we forgot we had a spell and we wasted hours because we weren't familiar. We're like, oh man, I'm so bad at this. So take time to understand your character more deeply. Get really
Both
familiar.
mechanically and emotionally, being able to step into your character's personality will help role playing a lot.
Absolutely. And then the last step here, step 8, this is the fluff.
Yeah, this is just cosmetics. What do you want to look like?
What do you want to look like? How tall? How short? And
What
this
does
is
Gimli look like?
This is essentially the second sheet of the page. This is for you. We focused a lot on mechanics today, but this is for you, right? What is your appearance? There's a box to
old are
draw.
you?
How old are you? What's your character's backstory?
That
What
just
oth-
doesn't have to do with the background.
What treasure do you have? What additional features do you have?
Who are you
Things like
allied
that.
with?
Absolutely. So this is for you, and this will also help you fleshing out your character, getting more accustomed to them. Whew,
All right, we have to speed through the outro.
that was a lot.
What kind of character do you want to make
good.
next?
Oh, what kind of character? I'm making Gimli. I just made it.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of character do you want to make next?
I want to make some kind of sorcerer because I like magic, and
Yeah.
sorcerers are just really cool because they're just like born with this innate
With this
magic.
innate magic.
I don't like wizards.
Okay.
I don't like studying.
You don't like spending money. You have to learn spells.
That too.
Whew. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us today. Wow, that was a mood change.
Yeah,
but
that was.
we got
Sorry.
a minute left here. We'll wrap it up. But I really hope this helped all of you. I know it kind of got a little rushed there at the end, but I hope this serves as a guide, and these 8 steps you can help guide you at making your character. But as we wrap up, please send us any questions or any characters you liked. Maybe we'd love to read about it at shareddiscoveryshow@gmail, even on Instagram or in the comments on YouTube. Thank you for BCTV for having us once again. And as we go, we'd just like to say thank you for joining us on episode 29 of Shared Discovery. Make sure you have some fun, be kind to others, and of course, play some D&D.
Play D&D, it's
And
the best.
sign us out.
You know? Take care. And we'll see you in the next one. I don't have a sign-off thing. Bye.
That's good. Bye.
We did it.